I'm a developer. I started making websites when I was in 5th grade and kind of just kept on doing it. So I've never really been taught how to make. Or how many people in here are programmers or have done HTML at all? Okay. So, sorry, I'm jumping around, but Google Chrome extensions are basically just little programs that run inside the browser, and they're written completely in HTML and JavaScript. So if you can make a web page, you can make a Google Chrome extension. And so I'm going to talk about the different capabilities that Chrome extensions have and how you can augment the functionality of the browser. And then I'm going to talk about some of the extensions that I've made, and then we're going to build one. And so this mind map that's like all of my talking points is up here at this URL. So if you want to open your laptop and follow along with the stuff, you can click through everything that I'm going to click through. And then also all of the code for the extension that we're going to build is open source, and you can grab that when you get home and hack away at it. And so my goal is that everyone can go and build a Chrome extension really quickly based on all this stuff. Okay. So my Chrome extension that I kind of is my baby is Seo Site Tools, and it is a extension to help you do search engine optimization. And I built it a few months back, and it's kind of starting to fall apart now, but it has 42,000 users, and so a lot of people jumped onto it, and I'm really excited about it. Okay. So when you're building Google Chrome extensions, they're all going to go into the Chrome Web Store. And the Chrome Web Store is kind of like Google's application market that's similar to Apple's App Store. And you can go and just get all these different extensions that load into your browser. All these things up here are Chrome extensions. And then there's different things that I'll talk about and go through. Okay, so when you are getting started, you have to kind of understand how the Chrome extension gets loaded. The main thing that starts a Chrome extension is its manifest file. And so sorry, one second. Okay, so this is a manifest file for the Chrome extension that we're going to be creating. And all it is a JSON object, which is JavaScript object notation. And so even if you don't know code, you can kind of see what's going on here. These little brackets kind of encapsulate properties. And so you just have your name of the extension, and that's what's going to show up in the extension list whenever it's loaded. You can specify an options page. You can specify all your different icon sizes for it. And then there's different types of functionality that it can create. So this is basically like the one file that you have to get started. And so when you first start making extensions, you have to know what they're going to do. So the Chrome extensions can do a lot of different things. They can create context menus. So if you want to have a special option that runs when you right-click on images, or if you right-click on a text box item or on the page, you can create different scripts or little pieces of code that'll run whenever you click that thing. So if I do, you can do different options. Okay, sorry, I'm really nervous. Okay. Oh, and please interrupt me or stop me and ask me if you don't know what's going on. But okay. So You have context menus. You have the Omnibox, and the Omnibox is Google Chrome only has one address bar, and so everything happens in it. And the Omnibox plugin lets you actually create different suggestions and hooks into the Omnibox. So whenever you start typing, you have your keyword, and you can see that my creating Google Chrome extension has some options under it, and it gives you, you can say, oh, I want to run some keyword, and this one goes over to a donate page that I have on my website. So you can make it do different actions. These are called browser actions, and so this is actually my tool, and it'll load, and it pops up a menu, and it'll analyze the page and pull in all these different things. And so this is the Chrome extension that we're going to be making, and it's just a really simple HTML page. And so it is probably the easiest first thing to get set up and started with. And so the way that you specify a browser action is in your manifest.json, you just say, oh, we're going to have a browser action, and you can set the icon that it'll use and the title that'll pop up when you mouse over the icon. And then we're saying that the popup.html is going to be the page that we want Google Chrome to pop up when you click on the button. Okay. So here's the pop-up page, and it's really simple. It's all just HTML. And so you can pull in different scripts and then have your it's plain HTML. And Chrome works with each section of the extension is its own web page, and it runs on something called isolated worlds. And so each part of the extension can only talk to another part by passing a message between the two. And so that's how it isolates the different web pages for security. So another thing you can have is context scripts, which will let you inject arbitrary JavaScript into different web pages if you want to augment their functionality. So anytime that you're going to talk from one section, picture is better. So here's an example. You have a background page, which is kind of like if you need something that's going to be running persistently anytime the browser is open, like checking for updates or something like that, all of that work is going to be done in the background page. And so basically you're going to have 4 or 5 different HTML pages that all do a different part of the extension. And so the background page, as many windows as you have open, there will only ever be one instance of the background page running. So it's kind of like the heart of the extension once you have it created. And it's specified in the manifest just as the background page, and you say background.html. So then whenever you have like a little pop-up happening, this pop-up is coming out of this little button. This pop-up has its own world, and the background page has its own world, so they talk to each other. Okay, so, sorry. Then we have desktop notifications, and so now you can actually, if you have a calendar or something, or you have some event coming up, you can pop up a notification on the person's desktop, and even if the browser is all closed and everything, here, this is how it works. So you can fire off a notification, and this will show on top of everything, and you can control the icon that it pops up, all the text inside of it, what happens when they click it, what happens if they don't click it. So basically, it lets you, Chrome extensions let you do whatever you want in the browser. And so for instance, like another thing you can do is the context scripts. And so if we go to the ShipleCon website, I made a context script and it loads in jQuery and then it will rewrite whatever is on the page. So as soon as it finishes loading, you just saw it like swapped the speaker that it randomly chose up there with my picture. And modify this real quick. So this is just the context script that runs. And the way you create a context script is you have this permissions line and you get permission to insert a script into a browser page by specifying the website that you want it to be allowed to inject on. And so say that you have an extension that modifies Twitter. All you'll do is put Twitter on there, and you can use like a wildcard, but that's not recommended because then you have access to everyone's web page. And so whenever you're installing the extension, it will prompt the users and tell them this extension requests access to show desktop notifications. This extension, has access to do anything on shiplecon.com. So you want to use the least number of domains in there so that people don't get freaked out that you're running stuff on all their pages. So then you can just specify that I have a context script and that anything that's on shiplecon.com I want to put this script into. And then you can just specify the different files. So this is just a JavaScript file. It's a JavaScript library called jQuery. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of. And so we can just make it where because everything runs in isolated worlds, your JavaScript will never collide with the JavaScript on the page. Basically, it creates two JavaScript virtual machines, one for your extension and one for the page that's actually running. And so you can load jQuery, use whatever variables you want. None of your code or variables will ever collide with the page that it's being injected on. And so the way you start playing with this stuff is if you go to your toolbar, you can go to Tools and then Extensions in Chrome. Or you can just right-click on an extension if you have it installed and go to Extensions. But there's this little menu right here that you can drop down that's called Developer Mode. And I'm going to install this. And so your Chrome extension is just a folder with a manifest.json file and some random HTML files with it. So you just do load unpacked extension, and you can see here's the background page and the context menu. And you can select that, and it will load the extension before it's been published to the web store, so you can develop and get everything working with it before you actually publish it. And so it also lets you inspect the views. And so I said the background page runs constantly. This is the Chrome developer window. It's all built into Chrome, that you can see that this is the background page with all the code. And so here it's showing that when I was doing those context menus, it was showing that I clicked on the selection item or I clicked on the video item. So as you're debugging, your code normally talks to the background page, and because there's no tab for the background page, that's how you go and you can see what's actually running on the background page and get your debugging going through. So now I modified the context menu, and so now if I refresh, it should change this header right here. Okay, so it just ran some JavaScript and reloaded it. So the way you can use this is, let's say that you have some web application and you don't like how the user interface works. You can, instead of waiting for them to make their interface better, just create a Chrome extension that'll fix it. And so one of the things is everyone cares about social metrics. Google Analytics doesn't pull in information from Twitter and different things like that. So my Chrome extension detects if you are in Google Analytics, it just matches on this. And when it does, then it detects that you're on a specific page, and it'll go and do a whole bunch of different requests or whatever you want. One of the new things with HTML is you can make requests from the browser. It's called an Ajax request. I'm sure you've heard of that stuff. And so you can Ajax in data from other places and then modify the web page that you're on. So this Twitter and Dig information and pulling from Facebook was injected by my extension after it went and saw that it was on this page. It went and grabbed the data and then put it in. Oh, and another thing, because the Chrome extensions are HTML pages, you can actually run Google Analytics on your Chrome extension and collect all that information from the Chrome extension. And so I guess I'll talk about that. Does anyone have any questions so far, or kind of following me? So here is the analytics for Seo Site Tools. And you can see it's been loaded into the browser over 1 million times. And I can actually come and see, this is the popup.html page. So I can see that it's people click the pop-up icon about 13,000 times a day. It gives you all of the visitor information so that you can look at where your users are coming from. Everything that you can get through analytics comes through in the Chrome extension. So you can see most of the people that use it are from California. So yes, this is the analytics for my tool. So these are called browser actions. They show on every page. Another type of extension is a page action. And so that's like this right here. And these, a browser action shows whether the page has what it's looking for or not. Basically, it's just always on. Page actions are special because you can selectively turn the icon on and off in the address bar. So if you are when it's looking for a script on a website, it can check for some conditions, and then if it wants to run, then it can show its icon. Otherwise, it can hide itself. So the default one for Chrome is like, is there an RSS feed on the page? If there is, show the little RSS icon so you can click it and get all the feeds. Otherwise, it's going to hide itself. You get access to a whole lot of different things, actually. In this Google Chrome extensions website, they let you can talk to all of the bookmarks. You can create bookmarks and remove bookmarks. You have access to all the cookies that you want. You have access to the browser history. So if you wanted to make an extension that showed all of your latest web pages, or if you want to share something with a friend or whatever, you can access all of the bookmarks, cookies. Basically, they let you have access to everything if you request permission in the manifest.json. Okay, so I talked about the background page, and I'm going to walk through what is actually in this background page and what it's doing. Uh, Chrome is a WebKit browser, and so you get everything that's in HTML5 and all of the really cool, nice CSS3 animations and transitions and everything. All of that works, and so that was a big reason I chose to start developing in Chrome, is because I hated writing cross-browser stuff. And so when you're writing an extension, you don't have to worry about that. And so this is using the new HTML5 local storage, which lets you save variables inside of the browser without ever talking to the server. And so all of my extension, everything, I don't even have a server for it. All of those people are just running their own instance of all the code on their local computer. And so it's a good and bad thing, because the easiest way to learn how to build extensions is to actually go and take other people's apart. Because it's all HTML, you can just go in and basically see all of their code and how everything works. And so if you're wondering how to do something, then you can just go into their code and check it and see how they did it. The problem is that it makes it really easy to steal. So someone actually went and took all my code and put up a copy of my extension that was exactly the same, except reskinned it. And so then I had to go and fight with them and say that they can't do that. So it's good and bad, because they have access to all the JavaScript and everyone can see how everything's built, but they could also go and take your stuff. But anyways, so local storage is how you save your settings. And so if you want to have any settings for your extension, there's a special one called the options page. And so this is my options page, and all it does is it has a little text box, and it says, whenever the text box is changed, update the local storage value for the option to be something else. And so if we are in Chrome and we go to the options, we can change this, and it's updating the local storage as I type. And then that variable is used in the pop-up. And you can see that now it's using the new variable that just got changed. So the local storage is useful for saving things that are going to be persistent across all the pages and any options that you have. The little notification bar, this is how you pop it up. You call webkit notifications.create notification, and you just pass it whichever icon you want to use, a title, and then the body text, and then you call notification.show, and it'll pop up the notification. So a common thing would be to set a timer that checks every interval, and says, do I have anything to do? Do I have any updates to show? If I do, then you run this little block of code. Some weird things that happen is you can't just use a plain link inside of the pop-up windows, because they won't navigate. Basically, Chrome restricts the permissions to the links. And so what you have to use is this chrome.tabs.create. And so I'll basically, instead of having just a plain normally you'd make a link like this. And if you did that, it'll show the link and it'll look like it's clickable, but when you click it, nothing will happen because it's not inside of a tab. It doesn't know what to do with that navigation request. And so what you actually do is you have an on-click event and you put in this chrome.tabs.create, and then your URL goes inside of here. To pop up the link. And so that'll open something in a new window. And so that function is used inside of the background. The next thing here is the Omnibox. And the way the Omnibox works is you specify a keyword that you want to be the keyword that initializes your extension to start giving suggestions and interacting with the Omnibox. And so that is specified in the manifest. You have your Omnibox and you say which keyword that you want it to grab on, and then you'll start receiving those events in your background page. And so you get an event every time the user presses a keystroke, and then you also get an event whenever they finish completing something. And so if we come in here, I do new tab. As soon as I type Carter, now my extension is running with my Omnibox suggestions, and it's showing these custom things. So you can click to go to my profile, and then it uses that tabs.open to open up my speaker page. And then the next thing is, if you want to have context menus, you can actually specify like a different context menu for each thing. So if you just want it to show on images, or if you just want it to show on the page, or a common one might be you want to have it where you can select some text and then look it up in some dictionary. That one is like the selection, lets you create a menu for any time that there's text selected. So if I select some text and I right click, then this is the text selection menu. And you can control all of that stuff, and you can create nested menus. And so there's different things, like this one is 10i is an image search engine. And so this, you just click and it'll give you the object information for what was clicked on. So if you get a text selection event, it'll pass you the text that was selected, or if you right click on an image, it'll tell you the location of the image that was selected, and then you can use that in your extension to do whatever you want. So yeah, there's it doing its search based on the image that it's the context menu. Oh, the image search is called 10i. Okay. So you see when we click on this pop-up, we click display notification, it pops up this notification. The notification code actually exists inside of the background page. So this is where you have to use message passing to send a message from this pop-up window to the background page to tell it to open up the notification. And so if we jump over to the code, you get this thing called a port, and it just passes back and forth some random JavaScript object. So you can use JSON to pass these things back and forth. And so you just call Chrome extension connect, and you can actually give it a name if you want to say, this is the pop-up window that's talking to the background page, or this is a context script talking to the page. You can, name it. And this is just a real simple, you just call post message, and you can pass it, some random object, and this one's called pop-up. And so here is the button, and it says on click pop-up, and we post the message on click. And so then that message gets passed over into the background page, and the background page says, whenever someone connects to me, start listening on the port that I have. And so you'll get a lot of these different, if you have multiple pages that are all talking to the background page, you'll have many of these listeners created to watch those ports. And then whenever they get a message, it just calls this other function. And we say, if the message.action is pop up, then pop up the menu. And so you can pop things up, hide things. If you wanted to make it where all your competitors' phone number on their website was changed to your phone number, you could create a context script to do that. You can do a lot of different things. It's kind of, the reason I like building Chrome extensions is because it kind of lets you control your web experience and how you want to view a website. If you want to make a new button that has some different function, you can just make it. And then if you put it out there, people just start using it. One of the kind of fun ones that I made was, good page. Katamari is this game where you roll up different things, and it's like a little ball. And so this was originally a bookmarklet. And so you'll see them a lot on different websites where it'll be like, run this little piece of JavaScript in your address bar and it'll do some cool action. And so if you have one that you use a lot, then you can turn it into a Chrome extension and pass it out and everyone can use it. So this one creates Katamari on the page. And then you can start. Okay, it's not doing it. But anyways, it'll roll around the page and like grab stuff. And this took me about 15 minutes to make. And it's got 4,000 users almost. So it's really amazing how fast people will just start using your extension from it being in the store. You know, like I didn't promote it any. I didn't tell anyone about it even. I just published it up there and it went. Oh, and I guess I can talk about that. Okay, so we have our extension. We're playing with it. It's working in the browser. Now we want to publish it. And the way you do that is when you're in the Chrome Web Store, down here is this developer dashboard. And so when you first come into this, if you want to publish an extension, you have to pay $5. If you were in the kind of beta, then they didn't make you pay it. But just to make sure that spammers aren't creating, basically you could use this to steal people's credit card information or whatever you want. Because it exists in the browser and it's running all the time, you basically have access to anything that happens in the browser. And so they want to have some kind of barrier to entry to keep the hackers from just making a whole bunch of different accounts and then creating these essentially phishing applications that would steal your stuff. So whenever you want to make one, you just do add new item. And the way you do it is you take your code. And so here is all of the code for the extension. And you just zip it up. And then you can upload the extension. And so if you look at, but you get to control all of these different pictures. Other tools have actually you can do a lot of branding with it. And so like this one, they've specified their own skin for the background and they've changed, the way that everything looks and moves around. You can control all that when you're inputting your stuff. You say you acknowledge and you specify your icons. You can specify a website that you want it to link to, and all these links are followed. So if you want to get like a really nice link from Google, just publish an extension and point it at your domain, and it's a followed valuable link. And you just categorize it, say wherever it's going to be. And you can actually, if you want to have a beta test where you're showing it to only a certain small set of people, or when you start to have an extension with thousands of people, you want to run your test on a certain subset, you can have test accounts that those run under. Oh, and you get Google Analytics to run on your actual extension page. So you can see if people are doing, searches to find your extension, or if they're coming from some particular section or some website. You get access to all the Google Analytics information that's actually for your page, but we're just going to do publish. Oh. Okay, so it creates your little icon. Okay, language is English. Okay. Well, anyways, I don't want to go through all the different things, but it's really easy to publish. You hit go and it publishes your extension, and you can see how many people have. What's really cool about the Chrome Web Store is everything automatically updates. So as soon as you publish a new version of your extension, it'll start publishing out to all of your users. And the thing that's a really cool advantage about that is it doesn't tell you, like most of the time if you're publishing a tool, you know how many times people downloaded it, but you don't know how many times people are actively using it. And so it could have been shared and be 100 more times, or they could have never installed it. And so the counts that you get from here are actually active user counts, because every time their browser calls and asks the web store if there's an update to your extension, then that is a kind of heartbeat to let Chrome know, oh, this is a real person. And so you know exactly how many people you're reaching. So once something's up there, it's really easy to make an update. You just come into your manifest file and you increment the version number, just one, save it back out, rezip it and upload it again, and then it just uploads and everything updates. And yeah, updating is good because users like that. Are there any questions, or did I lose everybody? Yeah, I know I kind of was disjointed, but if you go and grab the talk, you can get the code and you can actually upload it, and just go in and start changing stuff and hacking with it and seeing what you can make it do. It's all really simple code, and I've sold these to people, and they now have thousands of users. Just, it was like $200. It took me no time, and now they've got a new medium to market through, because you are in their browser. You can get in their face if they're, doing something that you think is interesting. You can be like, oh, let me help you with that or whatever. And there's all kinds of privacy, and you want to be good and do nice things, but your power is really limitless in what you can make the browser do and how you can modify the UI and bring in extra data. So these are all Chrome extensions. You can actually create applications. So they have like an Angry Birds application, and it has almost the exact same functionality as an extension, except it's an installed app. Yeah. Like, you really can't stop it. Like if you, so if there's no, you can try and undo things that it's doing to the browser, but if someone writes an extension that, no, there's no way to tell. So yeah, I could make it rewrite all of the ShippleCon website and say that this was the best talk. And as long as you've got my extension installed, it'll always rewrite it and change it. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff. Like there's a idle time API. So if the person sits their browser and then walks away, you can say, oh, I've gone idle. And then you can do some background work that was going to maybe take some time. Then you can know to fire it off, and then it'll run while they're away from their computer and not slow down the browser. But you kind of get around that because the HTML5 lets you do background workers. And so that basically gives you like threads in JavaScript. And so if you ever have anything that's going to take a long time, you can put it in a background process. And then you know how sometimes you'll go to some JavaScript heavy page and the mouse will stop moving? The background workers fix that problem for you, because then they also work through message passing. You just pass something to them and say, hey, run this. They come back and have the answer, but it's synchronous means it happens all at the same time. Asynchronous, it kind of happens when it happens. And so all of the APIs in Chrome are asynchronous because you don't know how long the user is going to take to click something or whatever. And so it's all done with callbacks. And so you never peg the browser and say, you know, it's running some huge thing, because it's all in the background. And so anyways, there are about 2,000 installable apps in the store. This was right after the store launched. So those numbers are probably higher now, but there's about 2,000 installable apps, and there's over 10,000 extensions. They've been downloaded millions of times. This entanglement one is really cool. It's like a puzzle website, or not website, puzzle extension, or books or whatever. So there's different things like Chrome to phone that'll actually, you take when you hit this pop-up, it like shows a QR code, and you scan the QR code with your phone. And then in their database, that pairs your version of the extension with your phone. And so then you can send stuff to your phone from Chrome, and it just works. And so, I mean, the things that you can do with this are just basically, you know, whatever your imagination wants to do. Oh, and another thing, you can't run anything inside of the Chrome Web Store. They lock it down so the context scripts can't be injected into the Chrome store. And the reason they do that is because if you could do that, then you could just make it, and that's the only site that it blocks, you could make it automatically click to say, oh, this is a 5-star application or whatever. And so they restrict your access to that. No. It's just the Chrome Web Store. Yeah. So if someone steals your extension, you can file a DCMA takedown request and say that they violated your copyright, but that doesn't really solve the problem, because then they can just republish it. Apple is really draconian and like checks your code and everything, Chrome is a lot more open. And so you kind of want to install the extensions that you trust because, like mine, because it analyzes whatever page it's on, it has access to, actually, so we're going to uninstall. Whenever I add it, it says, do you want to install this application? It's going to have all access to all data on all websites. And it's going to have access to all tabs and browsing activity. And so when it pops up this alert, that's normally when you lose people. And if you, so that's why you want to make sure that you're only requesting for the permissions that you need, because people will start complaining down in the comments and say, why does it have access to this? What is it doing? And so it's, I always say you can go and look at the code and see everything that it does and make sure that I'm not doing anything malicious, but you kind of really have to trust the extension creator. But the thing is, if you're doing something bad, then they'll catch you. And so anyways, that's how you build Chrome extensions. Are there any questions or